feels like you need a guide for them. The achievement systems should always tell you how to do it, because it's like a goal, like a challenge or something like that. And if you don't know what you're doing, you're just, how are you supposed to figure out what to do? If it's like kill 30 enemies in 10 seconds, you know, good luck, you know, figuring out that you need to do that. Otherwise, let's get some jams going. And let's get the review started. As you can see, Battletoads has absolutely destroyed the vote, which really sucks because this is a hard game. A very famously, very famously hard game. So yeah. I'm not overly excited by this prospect, but we're gonna go ahead and wipe the votes as we always do. And here we go. Ratchet and Clank. I estimated 20 hours. We beat it in about, what, 12? So maybe a little bit shorter than I expected. And now Battletoads. My estimate, 5 to 500 hours. Oh my god. Oh man, we got him good. See, look at his eyes. Oh. Thank you. It's probably Crixie. Yeah, Crixie, thank you for the 777 with a vote for Donkey Kong Country, putting it in an early lead. Thank you very much for that. I'm just gonna take my time with this review because you know, I don't want to play Battletoads and suffer for the next 4 hours. Oh man. Thank you, Crixie, for the 777. I appreciate that. Thank you. All right. Yeah, rating system. We're gonna now rate Ratchet and Clank on a series of scores that encompass all of the features of the game: visuals, audio, gameplay, story, and craftsmanship, and then my personal enjoyment. Everything is rated as a 5 average because, you know, that's how collecting data works. You're comparing things against other things, which means there's a mean value, which means that's 5. If you rate on a scale of, if you rate a 7 being average, then 1 through 5 is effectively worthless. You're not rating on a 1 through 10 scale, you're rating on a 1 through 10, a 5 scale, and 1 through 5 just doesn't exist, so it's like 6 is 1. Battletoads is just super hard, period. Yeah, it's just super hard, period. It's gonna be a lot of play a level, get good at it, and then hope I can do it all back to back and then beat the game. It is going to be a huge achievement when I finally do beat it, and it could take anywhere between 5 hours to 500 hours. We don't know, but I will keep playing it until I beat it because you guys have supported to get that as our next viewer choice game. So we always have our non-Monday and Tuesday games to look forward to actually beating a game, but until then, you know, yeah. Thank you, VG, for the 110 bits. Yep. I'll vote towards, that'd be a vote towards Jack and Daxter. Oh, hey, nice. Nice, yeah, that'd be another one of those games. But yeah. Thank you, Crixie, for the $26 donation and another vote for Donkey Kong Country. Will that be the next viewer choice game? I don't know. It's got a nice early out of the gate lead there, though. Thank you very much, Crixie. Okay, so visuals are not just, you know, how good the game looks when you're standing still. It's about ground clutter and detail, aesthetic. Does it match the aesthetic? Animations. Just style in general, like just all the things that have to do with your eyes. It's not just, hey, this game looks pretty in this level only. You know, the skybox was a kind of a part of that, right?
Whoa! Hold it right there.
VG, thank you for the 222. A vote for Disgaea 2, or Disgaea D2 rather. Also interesting. Thank you very much, VG. Getting some different games up there. I like this. Thank you very much. Audio is like not just how good the audio is, but how good it isn't, if that makes sense. When you pause the menu or go to the map and there's no music, why not just continue the level music, you know? Why not? Like, you know, That was one of the things I had a big issue with. Gameplay, all the things, including, you know, optional stuff and the collectibles and conveyance is a big part of gameplay. How well the game helps you understand the game by naturally telling it to you or through tutorials, and how well those are made. Story, same deal. How good is the story? How good is the writing? How good is the dialogue? It doesn't necessarily have to be a compelling story to have a good story score. Sometimes it just has to have fun dialogue, and this game definitely had that in spades. Burn my bread. Yeah, that's how she says. Craftsmanship is kind of how well the game is built together, you know, how well it's crafted. And this game actually, believe it or not, lacks heavily in this arena, and we'll go into why. Enjoyment is, and I'm trying to be as objective as possible with all these reviews. These are not scores that I personally believe. It's how much I feel everybody else would rate similarly. You know, how much everybody else is going to be willing to enjoy that aspect of the game. So I try to be as objective as possible. This is my personal subjective score where I say, hey, let's bring personal bias back in and a horse wiener. God damn it.
What did you say? A horse wiener? Now that's dangerous.
Let's bring personal bias and a horse wiener into it. It gets really excited at that point, but dangerous. Thank you, Craig C, for the $11.11 donation. Thank you very much. More Donkey Kong Country love. I love it. I'm actually, I love the DKC, so. Although, yeah. Oh, I will say I have played and beaten it, but I haven't done so since it was new, basically. So it's kind of going to be a blind play again. Much like a lot of these other older games that I've never played. But anyway, with that being said, here's our games that we've already finished and reviewed in the past. There's a lot of them. There's a lot of them. Ratchet and Clank. Oh god. This is beat 'em up. What is the US release date of Ratchet and Clank, please? If somebody wants to grab that for me. Sorry, I was asked, but I always forget to look it up. So if you guys can help me, I would appreciate that. Let's mark this green as being finished. Oh, that's the wrong color green, of course. I'm always bad at this. Because when it highlights, it changes color, so I'm really bad at remembering which one is which. Anyway, this was released November 4, 2002. So this is only a year after Final Fantasy. Oh my god.
No.
RPGC is saying no. She wants Lunar 2 Eternal Blue. Thank you for the $6, RPG chick. Thank you very much. No. Oh, that reminds me, man. I have another alert to make. Somebody ripped a voice audio file for me, and I want to make an alert out of it. I keep forgetting. I'll give you a hint. It's from Persona 4. I really want to make that. I keep forgetting. Anyway, let's go ahead. Oh, god damn it, VG. Get out of here, dude. Thank you for the 110 bits on the vote for Sturgis Cerberus. All right, visuals. Now, this is actually, I think, where the game excels the most, because the game has a wonderful aesthetic to it that they pay homage to regularly. Like they don't go outside of that really kind of over-exaggerated aesthetic where it's like over-exaggerated facial expressions, builds, bodies. Like Captain Quark is like 90% upper body and then like spindly legs, and it makes him look like a generic superhero, you know. But yeah, it gave me huge World of Warcraft vibes, which is funny because it was only released a year after. But then again, you know, Warcraft 3 is based heavily off of, or World of Warcraft is based heavily off of Warcraft 3's visual aesthetic as well, just with a little bit more seriousness to it, you know, in a way. But Warcraft 3, like the generic knight paladin, has that huge lower jaw, you know, square jaw. would be awkward to stream Lunar at the same time. I always find it awesome when like I end up streaming the same game as like Crayson or Spoonie. I've done it a few times and it's always pretty cool because we get to share our experiences. But she's voting for Lunar 2, not Lunar 1, so.
And horse wiener.
And apparently that.
What did you say? A horse wiener? Now that's dangerous.
One vote for Horse Wiener. Thank you, RPG Chick, for the $11.11 donation for Lunar 2. Thank you very much. One vote for Horse Wiener. But another thank you, VG, for the 91 bits. Ratchet and Clank Going Commando. That's 3, isn't it? I thought that's 3. Going Commando's 3. You know what? It's actually listed. Oh, Going Commando's 2. All right, cool. Thank you for the vote for Ratchet 2. I have it listed there because I was confused by it too. But anyway, the animations of this game were really good. Final Fantasy X was one of the first games ever to have that like dynamic facial expressions where the faces like could move, you know, eyebrows and lips and everything, and not just be a flapping jaw. You know, back in the day, that's what they did with PlayStation, just a flapping jaw. You know, it's kind of like a generic anime scene where they're just opening and closing their mouth, but like in Final Fantasy X, it you know, they have expressions, and this game actually has really good facial expressions, especially for a 2002 game, especially for a lower budget game. They did excellent. It feels like an early Pixar movie. You know what I mean? It feels like a really like beta version of a Pixar movie with how good the animations are, the movement. Oh, Phenomena, thank you for the $5 donation. $250 to DKC, $250 to Lunar 2. Oh yeah, no problem. Yeah, let me get that in there. You know, you can vote automatically with the hashtag too. So let me know where you want that to actually go. And if you do actually want to split it, because you forgot a decimal on one of those, lol. But thank you for the $5 donation. Pixar did a movie in 2016? Yeah, of course I know. Yeah, but that's 2016, not 2002. I should see the remake? Yeah, I bet it's like Spyro, right? I bet it feels a lot like Spyro. You want it to go split? Okay, I'll write it down. Because there was, let me see. 1 or 2, 2 for 5, and then DKC. Triple brown cow. Triple brown cow. Triple brown cow. Alright. So that being said, I really want to say the visuals are quite a high mark. I want to give visuals an 8 because the worlds are really well designed and built. Every world kind of feels unique. There's a lot of like background stuff going on, cars flying around, big buildings. Every world is really nice, and just everything about the game visually is very nice. If it's nice, give it a 69, yeah. Audio is one of the things that actually kind of lacked quite heavily. A lot of the sound effects were kind of, I don't know, muffled feeling and didn't really feel impactful. You know, you throw a missile out there and it's just like boom, 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 you know, and just kind of eh. And then all the world levels had their own track, but it was kind of just some like background generic beat kind of thing. It was a nice little jam, but it wasn't really anything special. And not only that, but none of the bosses or cutscenes had unique music. Even the final boss was just like normal level music. You know, it's just the normal music for the level. So there wasn't really anything going on there. And while the tracks were okay, they weren't like really all that great. You know, the overall audio aesthetic was kind of meh. And I wouldn't even give it an average rating. In fact, I'd actually kind of say it's more like a 4. So I'm going to give it a 4. All right. Gameplay, also kind of one of those where it's like yes and no. What category is voice acting? Category voice acting is both audio and story, both. And you know, the voice acting was really, really good. Oh my god. That almost feels like a threat. I'm gonna make this short. Lunar 2 is winning. Thank you, RPG Chick, for the $9.69 donation. And you're right, I am overlooking voice acting, so I'll give it a 5 actually instead. Thank you for reminding me about that. But yeah, you can't rate it just on voice acting. If I did, I would give it like a 7 or 8. But you know, the other things bring that score down. So it's still 5 is, I think, more than fair for that. Anyway, gameplay. So there's a lot of really good intuitive design with the gameplay. It kind of teaches you naturally how to play the game, which is really nice. But then there's a lot of like weapons that you get that it doesn't really do anything. And then you'll randomly get a video for some things. But then not other things, and it's like, why did I get a video for that but not this thing that doesn't tell me how to do it, or you know, it's not very natural to understand what it does or whatever. It's just kind of this weird sort of it's like really good in some places and then really unfair in others. Like there's some mechanics that are not really conveyed very well, that are very important. There's no like dodging out of the way, and then there's a lot of unfair points in the game where you just can't avoid it unless you just get lucky. And so it's just kind of this weird back and forth. Overall, I think the gameplay is really good, and I think like it balances at a higher than average point, especially considering the era. The smooth 60 FPS is definitely something that helps carry the game really well to better have a better feel with the game's mechanics and style. One of the things that really bothered me all the way through is that some of the jumping mechanics restrict your momentum. Like you'll do like the little float thingy and then you'll slow down, and I don't know about you, but that aggravates me a lot. It feels very restrictive, like you never want to use that thing, even though you kind of need to in some points, but mostly if you're floating down somewhere to reach a faraway ledge or something like that. But the level design was more often than not really well done, and gives you a nice flow and sense of where you need to go. The maps are really nicely designed to make it feel like everything was a unique build map. You know, I never felt like it was like, oh, this mechanic again, oh, this design again, oh, this repetitious thing again. You know, every room was new and unique, and it felt special. And I think that's also a really important part about it. Hey, Solo, thank you for the 47 freaking months, dude. So I'm gonna give it, I'm between a 6 and a 7, and usually I would knock it down to the lowest thing I'm bouncing between, but I think giving this game a score under than 7 on gameplay is unfair. Now, story, so this is an interesting score for this game because there really was no story. It's like, oh no, this guy wants to make a new planet for himself, but it's actually kind of funny. Like, the lack of story actually plays into the story. Like, the story can be told in 2 seconds. Dude polluted his planet and is taking other parts of other planets to make his own planet. That's it. The end. The buck stops there. There's nothing deeper than that. There's no like subplots. There's nothing else. I mean, there's the relationship between you and Clank, which is really funny. All the NPCs have a lot of funny dialogue. The voice acting is top tier, and the writing is actually really good for the limited amount of time that you spend in a story mode sequence. The game is really well written, and even though there's a limited amount of dialogue, all of it is really good, and you can't wait for a cutscene because you're ready for the next joke. You know, it's like, hey, why don't you take a ticket off the planet? Socioeconomic disparity or some random freaking thing. It was definitely really well done. I'm guessing this is an American studio, right? Insomniac is an American studio, right? Because that is a very, like, there's no way they were able to afford good localization. Yeah, it's an American studio, US-based game studio. So probably one of the first studios that were like built originally for American game development. Naughty Dog and Insomnia probably are the first two. Like, there was a Square Enix US branch that made Secret of Evermore, and then it closed down. It made Secret of Evermore, and then closed down. So that's it. So yeah, like, this was clearly written for an American audience, and it shows. And it, despite the limited story, the world design, there's a lot of storytelling in each map. You know, you see the pollution occurring, you see a lot of the things build up, you see how they're interacting with the environment, and it kind of like doesn't require nuance in the writing, you know? It does it just by itself. So for what it is, I'm actually gonna give it a 6. Oh, my D is not working. Craftsmanship. Okay, so this is yes, Battletoads is gonna be next. This is actually one of the scores that takes the biggest hit, and that's craftsmanship. Yeah, the D didn't type out when I hit it on limited. Before 2019, Insomniac remains a second-party studio working for Sony, sharing the same building as Sony-owned Naughty Dog. Wow, there's a lot of like inter-company stuff going on between those three. Craftsmanship is the biggest hit to this game because a lot of like how this game works is kind of just like thrown together. Like, they didn't quite finish the game out and polish it out to like, what they did is they focused on the most important thing, which was fun and intuitive gameplay. The rest didn't matter. And of course they, you know, wanted like good voice acting and silly writing, and they nailed that. Then the visuals were important to them. The craftsmanship was kind of the back seat in this game. Like, there's like, when you do the race sequence, you just pop in and it's just, you're just going, no countdown, no like tutorial, no nothing. You're just like, go. And while I'm not a fan of wall of text tutorial, they could have at least said, hey, here's how to play. You know, you're just kind of like, what do I do? Oh crap, things are happening, oh my god, you know? And you don't really know what to do, and you're gonna lose the first match every time. Not to mention the balance for the racing is really, really steep. Like, every race took me like 3 or 4 tries before I actually won the race, and that's kind of rough, you know, especially considering how they're pretty long and they're pretty intense, and you gotta find secrets to find shortcuts and stuff in order to win, hit every boost. And I'm willing to bet that I had a much easier time because I'm kind of used to that kind of gameplay, but other people that liked the game and wanted to get through it had probably struggled with those race sequences. Well, I know when I'm about to start, Kuja. Don't worry. Oh boy. But like whenever you enact a cutscene, it just kind of happens. It's just like pop and then pops out. You're just getting popped in and popped out really fast. There's no like natural fade outs. There's a lot of places where they lack music. There's not a lot of like variety in the score. It kind of feels like things are just kind of like, they made sure the game worked, you know, and then that's it. And I think it's important to note still that the game does work, and it still goes from point A to point B very nicely, and there still is a lot of cool little secrets, and there still is a really interesting world, and it feels like every map is kind of like this sort of half open world. I really like how every map has multiple choices to choose from. In fact, some of them you don't even need to go down, you just choose to. That's cool. However, one of the things that bothered me was that the collectible system, the gold, bolt, and skill points, were incredibly hard to understand and very obtuse as to what, not only how to get them, but their purpose. and it turns out that they're post-game, side game stuff that you won't even really even know or understand until you've already beaten the game, which kind of feels like a forced attempt at replay value as opposed to just something really cool that you could just do when you're playing the game. I don't like being forced to have to like redo a game just to experience the collectible side of things. You should just let me do it along the side. If you want to offer a new game plus, just offer a new game plus. It doesn't have to have this string attached, this carrot on a stick to it, you know? And I just kind of feel more insulted than I feel like I've gained something. So to that end, I kind of want to like hit the score down more than I want, but because the game still operates fine, it's not glitchy all that much. There is some movement issues and camera sucks really bad. Overall, the game works, you know, and to that end, it's a 4 to me. Yeah, my brain's gonna yeah. Enjoyment. Now this is really something that I had a lot of fun with. I love platformers, but I've always kind of been known for RPGs because that's what I started speedrunning. That's what I mostly play. I mean, you go up and down this list. Like, where's the last non-RPG? Cooking Mama, which was a long time ago. That was like 6 months ago. Before that, I guess Nier Automata is kind of not an RPG. It's an action RPG, but still. Katamari was before that. That was a long time ago when we played Katamari. That only took 4 hours to beat. Cookie Mama was 6 hours. Katamari was 4 hours. We did RPG Maker. Technically not an RPG Maker. Not an RPG until you actually play it. So, yeah. But, I mean, you can see we don't, especially on viewer choice, we don't really play a lot of RPGs. Although, granted, I will say that on our non-viewer choice games, we've played a lot of non-RPGs like Yakuza and stuff like that, which are not RPGs. Although they do have a lot of RPG mechanics and design to them. But yeah, that being said, I really had a lot of fun with it. I love all genres of game minus sports and racing for the most part. Even some racing games I really like. And so having an opportunity to play one of those forgotten platformers of the PS2 era was really a lot of fun, and I had a lot of joy with it. There's only really one part that really irked me, and that was some of the checkpoints. You don't even know you're getting a checkpoint, which is also one of the craftsmanship flaws, by the way. And you can just kind of get thrown back really far, and you lose all your ammo, but you have to kill everything all over again, which is really kind of meh. But it only really affected me 1 or 2 times maybe, and it wasn't that big of a deal. The gun cost going way up, and there not being a lot of options for long range guns kind of was frustrating, but we figured it out and got past it. And to that end, I had a really good time with it. I would say that I would easily put this as a 7 or an 8, and I'm kind of deciding which one that is for me because like I think I'm gonna go with an 8. I had a lot of fun with it. The dialogue, the voice acting and dialogue really kind of sold it for me, to be honest. As far as like that being an 8 versus a 7. I need to write out my reviews for Tales of Berseria, Breath of Fire 3, and now Ratchet. I keep forgetting to. There's another box over here. What was this, like about 14 hours? I want to say this was about 32 hours. Tales of Berseria, some like 43 hours, yeah. That I write out full reviews, like a little bit more information about what the game is about. And I do that with all the other games, but I have forgotten to do so with a few of the most recent ones, which was Tales of Berseria, Breath of Fire 3, and now Ratchet and Clank. So, all right. That being said, looks like we got Donkey Kong Country and Lunar 2 duking it out for first and second place. But for now, we have Battletoads. So I'm going to take a quick break to set this up and also use the restroom and amenities and let you guys take a break before we get started on Battletoads. For the NES, let me tell you, it is going to be a struggle, okay? It is 100% going to be a huge, huge struggle. This game is famously hard, and, well, yeah, all right. Enjoy the tunes. We'll be back in just a few minutes.